1 if they are adjacent to each other. What is meant by adjacency? And when two vertices are joined by an edge, we say that those two vertices are adjacent to each other. Those two vertices are adjacent to each other. So in your graph, if those vertices are adjacent to each other, you put a number as the matrix corresponds and make it as 1. If they are not adjacent, put it as 0. For a directed edge, you should have a directed edge between those two vertices. Directed edge means, suppose when I say V1, V2, V1 should be the initial vertex, V2 should be the terminal vertex. So for the V1, V2 you put a 1, V2, V1 don't put a 1. V2, V1 don't put a 1, V1, V2 put a 1. Okay. So this is one the definition which I gave on that day. Now, by the way, symmetricity, I talked about symmetricity on that day, right? Symmetricity. Matrices, what is called as symmetric matrices? Okay. What's the meaning of? This keeps standing. So what is symmetric matrix? Same image. Otherwise, when you interchange, proper definition of a symmetric matrix is that when you interchange rows and columns, the matrix remains unaltered. The matrix remains unaltered. A I J should be equal to A J I. Interchange the rows and columns. Vn, E1, E2, etc. Em. Where Em, that's why I am stressing again. This is N and this is M. Vn, Em. Where the vertices and edges, are arbitrarily ordered. Arbitrarily ordered. O-R-D-E-R-E-D, ordered. Then the incidence matrix, M of G is equal to Mij put within ordinary brackets. M of J equal to Mij of G is an n by m matrix. See the board and write n by m. So n by m matrix. N by m matrix with entries. E-N-T-R-I-E-S, entries. With entries, Mij, where Mij equal to 1, 10, LTEI is incident with Vj, and it is equal to 0 otherwise. Adjacency is defined between two vertices, right? Incidence, how is it defined? Edges, right? That is, my question is, one day I need one word answer. Adjacency is defined between two vertices. Note about the note, you refer to any one word answer. That's paper pass. Adjacency, listen to my question carefully. Adjacency is defined between two vertices. In other words, two vertices, if it has an edge, I say that they are adjacent to each other. Otherwise, they are not adjacent. This is the adjacency definition. My question is, incidence is defined between the lines. Single vertex. அப்படி வந்து டிஃபைன் பண்ண முடியாது இன்சிடென்ஸ். வெறும் எட்ஜுக்கு ஒரு வெர்டெக்ஸை மட்டும் வச்சு நீ வந்து இன்சிடென்ஸ் டிஃபைன் பண்ண முடியாது. ரெண்டு வெர்டெக்ஸ் வச்சு அட்ஜசன்சி டிஃபைன் பண்ணணும். When you want to relate, when you want to map, you need two factors at least. Without two factors, you cannot do the relationship. Adjacency is defined by two vertices. அதே மாதிரி incidence is defined between vertices and edges. So one vertex and an edge. புரியுதா என்ன சொல்ல வரீங்க? Adjacency is defined between two vertices. The word is V1 is adjacent with V2, V5 is adjacent with V7, V7 is not adjacent with V11, V25 is adjacent with V50, V51 is not adjacent with V54. In the sentences come meaningful. The edge E1 is adjacent with edge E2 ங்கிறது தப்பு. ரெண்டு edge நடுவுல adjacency define பண்ணல. Adjacency is defined between two factors. Is adjacent to is a phrase. Is adjacent இதுனா இங்க ஒரு vertex இருக்கணும், இங்க ஒரு vertex இருக்கணும். புரியுதா? Adjacent இருக்குன்னா அந்த adjacentங்கிற வார்த்தைக்கு முன்னாடி ஒரு vertex இருக்கும், பின்னாடி ஒரு vertex இருக்கும். அதனால தான் adjacency is defined between two vertices. ஒரு vertex பத்தி adjacency பேச முடியாது, மூணு vertex பத்தி adjacency பேச முடியாது. Adjacency is defined between two vertices. புரியுதா? இந்த கேள்வி என்னன்னு? Adjacency is defined between two vertices. V2, V4 adjacent ஆனா அர்த்தம் இருக்கும். V7, V8 adjacent ஆனா அர்த்தம் இருக்கும். V50, V7 adjacent ஆனா it's meaningful. Edge E1 edge E5 adjacent ஆனா it's meaningless. ரெண்டு edge நடுவுல adjacency define பண்ணல. Adjacency is defined between only two vertices. புரியுதா? அதே மாதிரி when I say use the word incidence, is incident with அப்படின்னு சொன்னா is incident withனா you have to fill up this. So incidence is defined between edge and the vertex. இந்த இன்சிடென்ட்டா இல்லையாங்கிற கேள்விக்கு பதில் சொல்லணும்னா நான் ஒரு vertex ஒரு edge அது ரெண்டு கேள்வியில இல்லாட்டி இன்சிடென்ட்ஸ்க்கு பதில் சொல்ல முடியாது. புரியுதா? ரெண்டு எட்ஜ் டிஃபைன் பண்ண மாட்டோம், ரெண்டு வெர்டெக்ஸ் டிஃபைன் பண்ண மாட்டோம். ஒரு வெர்டெக்ஸ் ஒரு எட்ஜ் இருந்தாதான் நீ இன்சிடென்ட்ஸ்க்கு ஆன்சர் பண்ண முடியும். எட்ஜ் E7 is incident with V5 ஆன நீ ஆன்சர் சொல்லலாம். V5 V3 இன்சிடென்ட்டான கேட்கக்கூடாது. V3 V5 அட்ஜசென்ட்டான கேட்கும். V5 E3 இன்சிடென்ட்டான கேட்கும். அப்ப இன்சிடென்ட்டா என்ன பண்ணுவோம்? If that vertex is connected with that edge, to say that they are incident with each other. They are incident with each other. So the incidence in the வார்த்தைக்கு முன்னாடி you have an edge and a vertex. Vertex முன்னாடி இருக்கலாம், edge பின்னாடி இருக்கலாம், அது edge first இருக்கலாம், ஏதோ ஒரு இடத்துல இருக்கலாம். So E1 என்ன சொல்றோம்னா this edge is getting connected with this vertex. This vertex is getting connected with this edge னு சொல்றோம். So அந்த vertex edge கனெக்ட் ஆயிருக்கா இல்லையான்னு சொல்றதுக்கு I need a vertex and an edge. This is right students. So incidence matrix and the definition like இருந்தே you can define the matrix. You can understand the matrix. Okay. So adjacency matrix is defined between vertices. It's connected with rows will be considered as rows will be considered as vertices. Columns also will be considered as vertices in case of adjacency matrix. Whereas for incidence matrix
B1